How's it going, everyone? Wayne the Unknown here, and welcome to another episode of CosplayCon Talk, where we basically discuss everything pertaining to the cosplay community and conventions. Tonight, we are doing another segment on Get to Know That Cosplayer, and tonight we are going to have two cosplay guests, Montana-based cosplayers, Eekie Cosplay and Snow Cosplay. How are you both doing tonight?
Doing pretty good.
I'm doing great. Thanks for having us.
Well, you're very welcome. Again, thank you guys for coming on and being, you know, I live around, like, think this would make 63 episodes for Cosplay Con Talk, I think. Yeah, somewhere around that. So to begin, and we'll start with Eekie. How long have you been cosplaying for?
About, so I look at the calendar, I would say actually cosplaying like at conventions and things like that for well over 11 years, probably 12 years at this point. Um, but just cosplaying in general since about 2006, 2007.
That's a long
So
time. So you definitely that's like up in the cosplay veteran right there.
I'm a little old.
Well, I feel like you're considered a cosplay veteran if you've been cosplaying for like more than 10 years.
I like that. That's what I'm going to call it now. Stealing that.
Same question for you, Snow. How long have you been cosplaying for?
It's probably been like 9, 10 years. It's like 1 year shy of what Eekie's been doing. Eekie's actually the one that got me more heavily involved in doing cosplay in general. But I've always worn costumes of my own design or help with my mom from Halloween and whatnot. So I don't know if that counts.
Technically, that would if you're on your 10 year mark, that would put you in the as I just recently said, the cosplay veteran, category. Starting with Snow, what got you into cosplaying?
I think I kind of just led into your question there with that one. I obviously anime for sure got me invested in the idea of wearing costumes, but I didn't really like take that and do anything with it until Iki got me like into it because she would dress up elaborately for Halloween, and I was like, oh, maybe I should try this and get more into it.
Nice. Same question for you, Iki. What got you into cosplaying?
As a wee lass of 14 years old surfing the internet, I stumbled upon cosplay.com. Uh,
That's an old website.
yeah, yeah, and I thought, oh my God, this is so cool. I want to do this. So I like every young child in the 2000s, I decided, okay, well I'm gonna dress up as Link. So I kind of did that, and then what really got me into cosplay was I finally watched Evangelion when I was 17, um, and I had heard about a local convention that goes on here in Missoula called MizCon. So if you're ever in Montana, definitely check them out. They go on over Memorial Day weekend. That's our home con.
Definitely
Um,
keep that in mind if I'm ever over there.
yeah, but I dressed up like Rei Ayanami in her plug suit from Evangelion and sat down with my mom and actually that was my first like I built that cosplay. I helped like I chose the pattern, I chose all the fabrics, I did all the design decal, stitched everything together. Um, so yeah, so I made that originally for Halloween and then ended up wearing it to my first convention as well.
So that answers my question about what your very first cosplay was. Back to you, Snow. What was your very first cosplay?
My first like real cosplay I took to a convention of any kind was of Dita from Chobits. I believe Dita shows up in like the last two episodes of the anime or the last three volumes of the manga. Very side character. No one knew who I was actually most of the time, and I'd carry around the book with me at the convention to show people who I was.
Nice. So it seems like you've both like are known for cosplaying characters that are like 10, 20 years old at least.
Yeah.
And
We're a little dated.
and I mean that's not a bad thing because it's nice to see cosplayers go as characters from anime that no one's really heard of in like a long time. So I think that's pretty cool to see that you guys been cosplaying unique characters. Like when I saw you guys at Metal Arc and Anna Medford, you were cosplaying as a character from Monster Hunter and Leon, and then who were the two Sailor Scouts you were cosplaying for Anna Medford again?
We were cosplaying Sailor Uranus and Sailor Neptune.
Okay, all right, nice. So back to Iki. This is a question I usually ask every cosplayer. What kind of advice would you like to give for first time? We'll start with you. What's the advice you would like to give for first time cosplayer or first time con goers who are thinking about cosplaying or going to a convention?
So those are. Is it okay if I answer those as two separate questions?
That is perfectly okay.
So for the first time convention goer, I would definitely say try to take in as much as you can. Don't always be drawn towards going to the big name panels. If you are going to a convention, like say the size of Emerald City or of SakuraCon,
Pretty big
definitely,
cons.
yeah, definitely check out things that might be more like they might look more like sideline panels. So stuff that's either run by fans or things that are run maybe by publishing companies rather than the big name voice actors or actresses, unless that's what you are really, really wanting to go for. I know that's something that really helped me and my skills, at least with foam work and seamstress work, was to go to panels like that run by other cosplayers to learn different techniques. Um, and then also for people who are going to a convention to cosplay for the first time, if you're new at it, big piece of advice that I could give is if you're going to dress up, wear something you're comfortable in and go and have a good time. Don't go with the concept that you want to be the absolute like best. You are yourself. You are your best person, and that's what matters. You're going in and you're trying to have fun and you're trying to have a good time. Like don't try to be there to like one up people, I guess is the best way. I'm trying to figure out how to word it. It's really funny you asked this question because Snow and I had this discussion when we were um driving back from Medford, and I had a really hard time putting words to it as well. Um I think it's just get out there, get dressed up, go have fun, do it for you. Don't do it for other people.
That's some pretty sound advice. Same question for you, Snow. I guess to advice for first time con goers.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm gonna split those up too because I feel that they're two vastly different questions. The first time convention goer advice I would say is always budget out what you think you're gonna need. Depends on the convention and how far you're traveling and such, but always plan that ahead and then tack on an additional $200. Doesn't matter if you'll use it, always tack on at least 200 extra dollars because I cannot tell you how many times I've seen people go to con and then like barely scraping home because they didn't have enough money set aside for all that sweet con
Oh,
swag
I've been there
or
before.
maybe they couldn't pay for gas or whatever. Hotel costs were more expensive. It's always nice to have a little bit of cushion in case, you see that really cool figurine or whatever. Um, so that one's always the one I bring up. I used to do a panel when we were helping run the university's anime club and talking about going to conventions because they used to travel as a student body to go to the conventions and do things. And that was one of the things I'd always speak to for like a good hour is budgeting. So it's really important that you consider those things. As obviously, if you are a younger generation going with family, you obviously don't have super control over all the budgeting, but it's always a good idea to save your allowance or what have you as well, because there's always going to be something you want.
Oh, most definitely.
And then the first time cosplayers, Eekie kind of stole the show stealer comment, and that's always do it for fun. Don't ever go into it to win the prize or be the best there is. If that's your dream, go for it, but don't start there. However, the other advice I will give people that's another one that people don't often think about is if you're going to the convention, pack yourself a small repair kit for your costume. Even us veterans that have been doing this forever, we bring a shoebox with all kinds of weird stuff. And it's one of the this happened at Medford. We've helped several people with their costume faults. It happens to the best of us, you know. Hot glue fails, stitch comes undone, what have you. So it's always great to have the ability just to be like, oh, I'll pop over to the hotel, sew that up or re-glue that, and then get back into the swing of things. Because there's nothing more devastating than having your prop destroyed or, you know, part of your costume fail that you can't get by without, and then not be able to wear it the rest of the day.
Oh, super fun. Yeah, no, I think more conventions because I really don't see a whole lot of them. I think, especially the smaller cons, should have like a cosplay repair station. I've seen one back in 2019 when I went. No, 2018 when I went to a con here in Medford called Medford Comic Con, and there was this couple that had like a cosplay repair station.
Yeah, a lot of the bigger conventions we go to have like a dedicated room for the whole, like all day. You can go and get help to repair your stuff, and they have hot glue, super glue, they have the whole works, which I think is great. But obviously, smaller conventions don't always have a dedicated staff or space to have that. So it's always probably a wise choice to have a little something yourself. And usually, other cosplayers, us old veterans, also tend to have the stuff around if you need a quick fix and you can find somebody with one.
Nice.
Yeah, quick plug if you ever see us at a con and something on your costume breaks, do not hesitate to come up to us and ask us if you need something because we likely have brought it with us or have it with us.
The sound of the devices again. Now back to Eekie. This is also another question I always ask cosplayers, especially the ones who have been doing this for a long time. Uh, Thoughts on thrift shopping for your cosplays?
I think it's a fantastic idea, personally. Um, I have thrifted tons of parts of my earlier costumes. I will still go and I'll thrift shoes and accessories, or things that I can just totally destroy and make into something else. This also doesn't come from being solely a cosplayer. I also belly dance, and so I learned a lot about finding different types of unconventional fabrics from thrift stores. So maybe I'll just pass that bit of advice along is, most of the time we think about just going to your regular fabric store or ordering online when you can actually get secondhand items and upscale them, or turn them into something totally new. I like to do that if I need a specific type of pattern or lace or something for a costume. I'll go down to Goodwill and I'll thrift like some sort of like a dining room tablecloth or a throw for that. Same with shoes. If I need shoes to build armor on, I will go buy them secondhand rather than buying them brand new.
Nice. Same question for you, Snow. Thoughts on thrifting for your cosplays, especially if you're on a budget?
I think it's an excellent idea, and it's a great starting point for those of us that, you know, either in high school or college or what have you, that, you know, don't have the money like from a job or a steady income to really to start in and build your costume. Like Iki was saying, upcycling stuff to make it into a costume fully is totally possible, depending on what it is. Obviously, some costumes are so elaborate, and there are creative people I've seen do crazy things with thrifted stuff. The biggest issue, though, is access. Not every location across, obviously, we live in the United States, has access to a good thrift shop. But if you have decent access to one or two decent thrift shops, you should be able to find some stuff. I do want to also add that while it's not a thrift shop, we have a place called Home Resources, which is a uh, surplus center for construction sites that they can discard their extra, like PVC piping and light bulbs and anything else that's just excess after the build is finished. And they sell it wholesale for like literally pennies. So if you need some PVC piping, we always usually start there because it's pretty cheap. Like we've gotten 24-inch piping for like what, 5 cents or something. It's super cheap.
PVC pipe, that's good, like especially for cosplay props if you're wanting to make a sword or a staff or something.
Yeah, definitely.
Now two more questions before we go talk about your guys' cosplays. Um, Back to Eekie. What are your thoughts on the buddy system for first-time con goers? Would you recommend someone bring a friend with them, especially if they're if they're going to their first con?
I have never gone to a convention alone. Yes, always bring a friend, no matter what age you are, no matter how old you are, or plan to meet someone there. Like plan to meet a friend at a convention. You might not need to necessarily travel there. uh, that's just a personal thing. I suffer from a pretty intense anxiety. So to me, having a buddy is almost vital for me to go to any sort of a convention. And a convention could be the place that you also discover that you may have social anxiety. So having a friend there is very good, and it makes it a lot more fun. You build memories with people, and you create stronger bonds. It's a good thing, in my opinion.
No, wholeheartedly agree. Same question for you, Snow. Buddy system for cons.
This is actually one of the first ones I think we might disagree somewhat on it. While I agree with Eekie that it's always valuable to have a friend with you at the convention in case you need to travel back to the hotel when it's late together. That's always a good one, especially in larger cities. Um, and as far as like helping pay costs, sometimes that's super valuable. Those are all great things, and I strongly do advise people go with a friend to a convention. However, the caveat here, and this is where I'm going to twist it, is that I strongly urge people to understand that if they go to a convention with their friend, that they need to understand that you don't have to go to every single same panel with your friend or same event. I've been in situations where the groups never break up, and then after the convention, somebody was like, "Oh, dang! I wish I would have gone to such and such a panel, but instead we went to yours." There's no necessary reason once you're in the convention space to have to stay together always. So keep that in mind.
No, I definitely agree on that because there may be a panel you want to go to while another friend wants to go to this panel or this vendor or booth.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And that's definitely something that comes up quite a lot at the larger conventions where the catalog, there's like 12 panels going on back to back.
No, yeah, no, I agree. Now we're going to the portion about your guys' convention and cosplay experiences. Starting back with Eekie, what was it like when you went to your very first convention?
Well, I was, God, I think we went to the same first con, didn't we, Snow?
I think
MizCon?
so. Like the first like full scale one. Yeah.
Are we gonna count the MizCon for that one then?
Yeah, that's what I was.
Okay, yeah. So it was actually really exciting. It was the first time I was allowed to go to uh, a any sort of a convention, and it was a sci-fi and fantasy convention here locally. Um, and I remember I was a little bit nervous, just because I didn't know necessarily what to expect. Um, just also being in a rural area, you don't really know. You don't really realize how many people with like interests there are around you. So to me, it was so exciting to finally go somewhere and feel like I fit in and to not feel weird for liking comic books and anime and being really into sci-fi and stuff like that. So my first con experience was really more of um, it was more of a good social growing opportunity for me to be able to meet other people with similar interests and learn new things.
Nice. Same question for you, Snow. What was your first convention experience like?
Well, without going into too many personal details, it was actually a kind of terrifying experience for me. I was going through some stuff and changes in my life during that period of time that I probably won't go into in this interview, but public settings was literally crippling anxiety for me. So I definitely had a struggle of a time, but it's one of the times where having a buddy or a friend to go with really improved the situation because I just basically tagged along and was able to just go and be in the situation and really gain some value out of it without being so terrified to just like sit in a place and not do anything. And it turned out like I got to meet some really crazy cool people and really break out of my shell in an environment that I didn't necessarily know I would be able to do that in until I actually got into it. So I think it was a fresh experience for me, and it was really life changing for me personally.
Nice. It seems like you enjoyed it though. Um,
Yeah. After the first couple hours, and I finally broke out of my shell, I kind of started really having a good time.
stuff like that takes time, you know, and that's totally valid and understandable. Now we'll be talking about your guys' cosplays. Starting with Snow. What would you say the biggest cosplay project is that you've ever done?
This is going to be an interesting topic for us both because we are both very big proponents of the team build aspect. So we're a couple, so we live together. We also tend to build projects as a group rather than solely by ourselves. Um, just because we both have different skill sets and we're both passionate about very different things. Um, as far as the biggest build that I put the most time into, I'm going to twist your question a little bit so it
That's perfectly okay.
makes a little bit more sense for it. The biggest one is still ongoing, but I'll talk about one that's been finished. Boy, that's a tough question. Because all of my costumes have like roughly the same amount of work that I've put into them. But I think this one I spent the most amount of time on was a character called Iffy from Hyperdimension Neptunia. It's not in a super elaborate costume, but it was kind of the first time that uh, Eekie and I had a spat about if I could even do textile sewing, because that was her passion. So it was I adopted that project to prove that I'm just as good. And it turned out great. I still have that costume. It no longer fits because I'm put on too much muscle, but I could change that, I suppose, if I wanted to.
I
Uh,
pushed you. I challenged you.
how long does it take you to finish that cosplay?
Gal, it's an older costume, so I don't remember the exact details, but it was probably a couple days, like total time, probably a day and a half total time. Um, and that's just because textiles isn't my forte, pretty much. Like it's not a super elaborate costume, but it took me some time because I obviously had to adapt some new skills that I didn't necessarily have that I could just walk out to my like wood shop and be able to build a prop.
Yes, that's like still there's sort of going back to what you guys talked about earlier. You could be you could be cosplaying and making your own cosplays for a long time, but I feel like you're always learning something new.
Yeah, and that's the key. You never want to get stagnant. That's half the fun is learning a new skill, really.
Definitely. Same question for Iki. What would you say out of the cosplays you've done would be like the biggest project cosplay you've done for yourself?
Mercy from Overwatch. I don't even have to think about that one.
That was gonna be my pick too, but I feel like Iki deserved it because she put in more time than I did in that.
Yeah.
But realistically, that costume did take both of us
Yeah, that one
so
was
many days.
that one took that one took us probably months.
I mean
I would say
could
It was
imagine
because
especially with
we
the wings she has.
it was
yes.
just shy of 3 months.
Yeah, we because I started that build. It was before Overwatch even came out. It
Uh,
was when it had been announced.
oh yeah, no, I remember when
They
Overwatch was
And
announced. So, like
they
they were just announcing like the characters and the first few
yeah,
characters.
and Mercy,
we started the build during beta.
yeah, and so my tag here on Discord is actually trust me, I play a healer, and that is me. Anytime I play any sort of an online game, is I play healers almost exclusively, and Mercy was just like I had to. There was no question, there was no nothing. And that one was not only the longest build, that was the first cosplay that I had to do a rebuild on midway through the project because I messed up with materials. Um, I had to learn skills basically on the fly because I was working with new things. Uh, it was a tough one, and I mean I can still wear it to this day. I love it. I mean it's done me good.
Before we move further on, what would you say? And I mean this in every way. What would you say the most pain in the ass thing about that cosplay was when you were setting it up?
Setting up as in making it or wearing it.
Wearing it.
The wings. So each wing is approximately
Okay,
3 feet
so to give you
long.
an idea, we originally built it 1-to-1 scale with the wings to her body size. She came home with black bruises on her spinal column because of the weight, because they were built with acrylic.
And acrylic can be pretty heavy too.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
they were roughly 15 pounds, I think, a piece.
Oh,
Yes, it was
jeez.
15 a piece. We have since redesigned the wings so they're cute little cheruby type wings that are not that heavy. It's about 15 pounds total, I think. So it's about,
Yeah,
the weight of your average
they're about
kiddo
1/3
school
scale
backpack.
now.
Well, I know
Yeah.
like her wings are like what, metal or something in the game.
Yeah, and so we made those out of EVA foam and acrylic sheeting for the clear, like, light look on them.
Yeah,
So when it
the
would
yellow
actually be
part.
captured in the sunlight, if you're outside in the sun, it would actually shine through that beautiful yellow color.
Nice. I mean, I'm sure it was like once you were done with it and everything, it was all fun. But I can't imagine. Like I've seen videos of cosplayers that have those big wings, whether they look like diamonds or something, and they're trying to go into an elevator or up and down an escalator.
So
So,
it's funny you mention that because
yeah.
this costume, while it is a passion project, it is also the number one bane of existence that we use is like an example to teach people. These are great costumes, but you have to realistically think about um, how they work. I had to be a handler for that costume all day, basically making sure people didn't run into the wings because weren't looking where they were going. Erica didn't hit anything, like run into a wall or smash
And
them into an elevator, as you said.
and to be fair, I have zero spatial awareness in general, so this was not a great idea for me. I'm
And
just
and
gonna
it,
say
you
that now.
you mentioned it was fun once it was on. No, the pain actually even lasted till getting to a convention. I had to last minute fix them in the Airbnb with epoxy resin before the convention the next morning because they didn't hold their bonding when we got to the venue.
Oh,
So it was
jeez.
painful up to the very minute, but we got some crazy good photos at the convention, and it was a blast.
As
So
long as you got some good photos.
My audio.
Um, let's see. Back to Snow. What's that one cosplay that you've not done in so long that you would want to bring back eventually?
boy, that's an interesting question. I've done so many costumes.
It's a question I always ask, and I think it's usually this question that gets a lot of people stuck.
Yeah, I mean, all the costumes that I've worn ages ago that I quote unquote bring back, I wear them still to this day. I have a few of them like that. But as far as ones that I would redo, like and bring them up to the skill level I have now, I don't know. Dita actually would be a fun one to redo my very first one in the caliber I could pull off now.
Nice. And who's Dita again?
Dita Chobits, yeah,
Okay.
she is kind of like sort of bounty hunter type person at the end of the book. I don't want to spoil too much for people who haven't read it. Go read it. It's a great book. You can skip the anime though.
Same question for you, Snow. What's that one cosplay you haven't done in so long that you would want to bring back?
For Eekie, boy, that's tough. I'm very similar to Snow in the fact that I would like to redo one of my firsts, and it actually is on my cosplay to-do list, is to redo Rei Ayanami from Evangelion. That one is a huge, huge bucket list, like, dream of mine to do that one. Um, but if not that one, I would also like to remake my Saber Artoria from the Fate series. I did that one back in 2015, 2016, 2015. And now with the skill set that I have, I feel like I could do a lot of the armor pieces much better than what I had when I first made it.
Yeah, I'm looking at Ray Ayanami right now. She's the one with the blue hair and wears the
Yeah,
white,
the
like,
white plug suit, yeah.
yeah, okay. I've never seen the anime, but I like
Oh,
when I saw when you said the name, I was like, what is that? Okay, it's one of the main characters.
she's
Okay.
iconic.
I've seen a lot of cosplays. People do a lot of cosplays for on Instagram. Now before I go to Snow, another question, kind of same. What's that one cosplay that you did that you've done that you would never want to do again? It was kind of like a one and done cosplay.
So I don't have. Does it count if I don't have the costume anymore?
That you know, yeah, no, that's it. Basically,
Okay, hold on.
as the question goes, a cosplay that you've done that you no longer want to do, or oh, like I said, a one and done.
Honoka Kosaka from Love Live. I did that one as a group, and I did it because I was invited to participate in a in-character panel at CosplayerCon as Honoka, and we learned like a whole dance thing to go with it, and then we would be in character the whole time, and it was fun, but not necessarily my style of a cosplay or of a character. Um, that's one I will never ever do again.
Yes.
Even though the Love Life costumes are absolutely adorable and I love seeing everyone wear them, they're just not for me.
Hey, everyone has their own taste in cosplays. Same question for you, Snow. What's that one cosplay that you would never want to do again? It was like basically a one and done.
That's such an interesting question for me because I am so picky and particular about my costumes that I would never do it in the first place if it's not something I'll wear. And that goes for group cosplay too. Like I won't dedicate to a group if it's not something I'm actually invested in. Oh God. Um Oh no, you know what? There is one that was a one and done, and I can't remember the character's name, so Iki's gonna have to give me a hand here. It's oh, the fox boy. What's his name from that one anime?
Oh, Tomoe from Kami-sama Hajime Mashita.
Yeah, that one. That was done as a paired costume with Eekie, and the show is really cute, but I'm not like super into wearing the like fox boy ears and stuff. So it was more of a gift to Eekie that I wear that costume.
Well,
It
that
was
was
not a
nice of you.
gift to me. It was a gift to the entire convention.
Now, you guys do panels. What was it like when you guys had your first cosplay panel together? Starting with Iki.
Well, our first cosplay panel together. Because I was doing panels, I think a year before Snow was, with a couple other costumers in our community. Uh, so for me, when we started doing them together, it was kind of a whirlwind, because I am a fly by the seat of my pants type of gal when it comes to that, and Snow is very, everything must be organized and in its particular place, and where is her red stapler? So I mean, it was stressful to start off with just because we had to plan. But then after the planning, it made the panel a lot more easy, and we have a really natural flow. I mean, we're married, so it's very easy for us to communicate with each other and to take that and act as it's just a normal day-to-day conversation with our panels and panelists to include them.
Nice.
Not our panel attendees. There we go. That's the word.
Same question for you, Snow. What's it been like doing panels together for cons?
So I'm going to preface this and start it by saying that the red stapler comment for the uninitiated and not as old people is from The Office. If you guys want to go check that out, the just so that your viewers aren't completely lost. I don't know how popular The Office is anymore. Um, it was like she said. I joined a little bit later. I was busy doing other things at our particular convention locally, and wasn't available for doing a lot of the costume panels. I also wasn't like super confident in my skills to be able to get up in front of people and be like, "Hey guys, this is what I do. This is how it can help you," and try and invest in helping others. But it's kind of funny she brought up the fact that they kind of just winged it because that's what really got me involved in the group. Is they lost one of their regular panelists, and I said, "Oh, I'll take their seat and be your moderator. I'll watch your time cues. I will make a actual, bullet point agenda of like what's our point that we're trying to get across." like just so you have something to follow, because you guys kind of just go wherever, which is great. And I think it's really important that you address the crowd based on the flow of what's the interest of the attendees is. But you obviously are being either paid or expected to provide a service of information when you come to a panel. So I think it's important that you at least have a message that you're trying to get across, and that is done by the 30 to 45-minute allotment that you usually have on a panel.
Nice.
As far as what it was like, it was a little rocky at first because the crew I joined was all very like, "Hey guys, let's just go up there, have a good time, whatever." So once I was like, "Hey guys, here's the chains. You must follow the rigid path," it was a little bit of a struggle to get them on board. But I think once I decided to take one of the panels and directly lead it rather than just be the backseat moderator, and show them how they can adapt with their flow into these are the 6 things you need to get across before the end of the night, kind of thing. They finally kind of picked up on that, and ever since it's been a blast, at least in our local convention area.
Nice. Now, you guys also do cosplay booths. Starting with Eekie, what has that been like? What was it like when you both did a cosplay booth together?
Uh, so that was actually the first time that we have boothed for cosplay. Normally we are wandering. Oh, what's our title, Snow? Attending pros. Is that what it is
At
at
the local
MizCon?
convention, we are either attending pros is what my badge says, and you actually are on the
I'm
costuming staff.
yeah.
What's attending pros? I have never heard of that term before.
It's basically like a guest of honor, except for they kind of subdivide it here. The guests of honor are the celebrities or like the big names they bring in, whereas
Okay.
the attending pros are people that are brought in that have some kind of element they're bringing to the convention, but aren't necessarily like the 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 big names or the voice actors.
Okay. That's
And so
interesting.
and we try to do that within all of our conventions here in Montana because there are so many talented people here that it would be so difficult to try to bring in our locals as attending professionals. I mean, I think the only Montana native we've actually brought in as an attending pro, I think was Christopher Paolini as a writing pro. And if for those of you who don't know, he's the guy who wrote the Aragon books.
Books are great, movies are crap. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, yeah. The author's
Funny how that is a common
yeah,
theme
right.
for this video.
But the author's based out of Montana, and so he's really been kind of like our only like local pro that we've had, or not pro, like local guest
Guest.
of honor.
That's I
Whereas
mean,
our
that's pretty cool though to have the original writer of Aragon
yeah,
go to
yeah,
a
well
con.
he's yeah, and I mean it's not that very hard. I mean he literally, I mean I don't know if he still lives here now, but when he wrote those books, he lives 3 hours away, from where our local convention is that we do. Um, but yeah, so the attending pro, we just we're there, we're available, we walk around, we chat with people, we host the costume contest or help run them, you know, basically just staff members. Going to Anna Medford and Meadowlark was a really different experience for both of us, having to sit at a booth and sit at a table. We're used to going around and talking to people and drumming up the interest in costuming and drumming up the interest for the costume contests and panels that are coming up and, oh hey, did you check out, Dragon Dornay, he's here this year. Did you go to one of his panels on resin casting or on making this prop for this movie? That's what we're used to doing. So this was a very new and very surreal experience, at least for me, to have a booth. The only time I've ever boothed at a convention aside from that was a performing arts group that I'm in. We were given a booth to sell merchandise, but we were not necessarily in the vendor space. It was like the day of our show right outside where we sold our merch. So very different.
Same question for you, Snow. Even though I know you answered some of the what I asked Eekie. In your experience, what has it been like doing cosplay booths?
Yeah, as Iki said, that was really the first time we had a booth, as it were, and it was an awkward experience for me, to be real. I don't really consider myself a pro, as it were, even though they call us that when they bring us in. Veteran, I like that term that you gave us earlier. That's
It's
much more accurate.
it's well, it's if going a little off topic here. It's actually a podcast panel I want to do later down the road called Cosplay Veterans. I'll invite cosplayers who've been doing this for 10 plus years who want to come on and talk about how cosplay has changed over the years in their opinion.
I think that's a fantastic idea, and you should hit us up.
Definitely will.
Getting back on track though, the I don't know. It was interesting because it kind of gave me this vibe of like almost surreal. Like I'm not here to sign prints or sell merchandise. That's not why I'm here. Because when I go to a convention as a costume guest, normally it's to educate, to build hype for this craft that we all love, and to help newer people find that passion too, or even help people who are not new with a new skill or understanding how a particular medium works. That's my passion, really, and I'm sure that that came across when you met me. That I love just to talk about the elements of, rather than necessarily just me in costume. So having a spread of me in costume in photos was just kind of weird.
That's totally understandable. I can tell you guys just were rather I can tell both of you guys were rather more wanted to walk around the con, seeing what it was like instead of just being confined to that one area.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, the convention was small enough, and I want to give mad shout outs to the convention because it was inviting, and the vendor staff, or vendors there rather, were all super like trusting people. So like we were able to walk around quite a lot and just have them watch our table so nothing would go missing.
Well, that's always
Um,
good. I mean, plus you guys were right next to Cosplay Me, who kept an eye on your booth too.
yeah, we're good friends with Cosplay Amy, so that was always nice to have her watch our stuff as well. The one thing I will say that was a benefit to the booth that I was not expecting, that was kind of worth pointing out, is having those pictures all spread out was valuable for people to feel more comfortable to walk up and be like, "Oh wow, is this you? Did you build this?" and spark a conversation. Because normally we're just like talking to people in the costumes we're wearing at that moment. But I had a lot of people who were, for instance, only interested in my Star Wars costumes that I had pictures of, even though I was wearing Sailor Scout uniform. Like that was able to bridge that gap because they saw a different costume.
Nice. Now back to your favorite cosplays you've done, starting with Eekie. Since you guys are married and everything, have you done any couples cosplays, and if so, what would your favorite be?
Well, my favorite is not the one that we wore to Anna Medford. My favorite couples cosplay actually that we've done is Alucard and Maria Reinhardt from the Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Those ones by far were my most favorite to wear and my most favorite to build. I'm a huge Castlevania, like I love it so much. So it was super exciting to be able to build those, and that was also right when the Castlevania anime was announced. Um, so yeah,
And I
that's my
think you
favorite.
actually guys had what? I think you guys had prints of those at your booth at the con.
Yes, yes, we did.
Nice.
Yep, and those are just I don't know. I love them.
So
They're my favorite.
who won as Maria and who won as Alucard?
I was Maria and Snow was Alucard. So Snow actually had, for that costume, had the more elaborate of our two costumes, which is kind of rare. Usually I'm the one who wears the ridiculous, over the top, elaborate stuff. But no, nope. She got that one with the whooshy cape and millions of layers, hand studded. I put way too much time and effort into that costume.
Same question for you, Snow. What would you say your favorite couples cosplay would be?
I want to make comment on the last one. It's not my favorite, and it's because that costume, while it's a beautiful piece of work, is miserable to wear because it is, for the most part, aside from a couple things, period accurate as far as materials, aside from the pleather. It should be real leather, but so it doesn't breathe well, and it's real cotton, so it's hot. It's very hot.
There's lots of non-breathing material.
And I do love that set, but I'm going to be a real cheese here and say that my favorite couples cosplay is actually the one that we wore to our costume wedding, which was Athrin Zala and Kigali Yula Atha from Mobile Suit Gundam Seed.
Well, that's like it's Mobile Suit Gundam Seed like what 90s anime?
Yeah, it's an older one too.
Nice, nice. What was that like? What was the process of making those cosplays for your wedding?
It was not too hard. They're not super elaborate costumes. For those who haven't seen the show, like mech shows. It's not super normal for Gundam. It's more focused on the interpersonal relationships of the characters. So, like hardcore Gundam fans tend to look down on it. Not all of them, but a lot of them do. I think it's a really beautiful show, so check it out. But anyway, it's from the much later in the series where the two end up being a close couple and getting married. Spoilers if you guys didn't know. Oh well, whatever. It doesn't spoil anything that's actually important in the show. But when they do get married, Kigali has this really pretty green dress that Erica can kind of speak to that she made. Um, and then I didn't end up wearing Athrin's outfit because it's kind of a suit thing, and I'm not super jazzed about it. And also, I decided to gender bend Athrin, and I decided to wear the Zaft uniform, the female Zaft uniform, because I'm a sucker for the Zaft uniform. But they're really not that elaborate costumes. I think the hardest part for at least mine was finding some white go-go boots.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine go-go boots aren't cheap either.
I managed to find a pair that was around. I think they were $60. It wasn't too bad.
Nice. Um, Now, two more questions before we end this segment. Starting with you, Snow. Any future cosplays, like characters you want to cosplay in the future?
Yeah, actually, our next big build that we're have started on working with is because we usually only do one real big one like Mercy or Alucard at a time because just the amount of time it takes and dedication. The kind of trade on and off who gets to wear it. But this time around, it'll be me, and I'm going to be. We as a group, obviously, are building Bo-Katan from Star Wars.
Ooh, that's gonna be a cool cosplay to see.
I hope so.
I'm having a lot of fun doing the build process, and for this one, we're actually once again learning a new skill with doing this. We're doing a Pepakura file.
What's that?
So there are papercraft files that people out there in the world create that can be made from the polygon files out of a video game or a 3D render of some kind. And what they are is they're made so you can print them out on paper or cardstock and fold them up, and you'll have the piece. And what a lot of folks do with those is they'll actually take those and use those as patterns to put down onto EVA foam. So that's the route that we're going with this, is we're taking it, sizing it up for Snow so that it's not like the tiny little like computer animated model size. It's actually big people sized. And yeah, printing it out and just sizing it, adjusting it, seeing what foam would work best, cutting it out of the foam, and then attaching it and painting it.
That, I mean, that sounds like it's gonna be a big build, and I mean, I know there's like a lot after I've watched Mandalorian, and looking at Bo-Katan, it's like, seeing what her armor looks like in quote unquote real life, that's gonna have a lot of intricate details for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Kind of.
Well, I
Maybe.
mean, compared to her, her Star Wars Rebels or Clone
Yeah.
Wars version of the outfit, seeing what it looked like in real life. I mean, I'm sure even the shows on the creators, they had to do their research just to make sure they got every little detail just right.
Well,
Or
I don't think mine's going to be screen accurate by any means, but
Hey,
I'm going to have fun wearing it.
hey, there's nothing wrong with not making a cosplay screen accurate. I know there's a bunch of cosplayers out there who try to make their cosplay as screen accurate as possible, and kudos to them and everything. I'm not like trying to crap on them. Like if they have the time and patience to make it screen accurate, kudos on them. Uh,
I've done that for one Star Wars cosplay, and I don't know if I will ever do it again.
um, before I ask you the same question, what cosplay was that for?
That was for Kylo Ren. I went out of my way. That was the year it was released. We were jokingly challenged to make it for a MizCon.
This was before the Raylo was confirmed, so it was a kind of
Yes,
a gag.
it was a gag. And we were asked for our cosplay chess match if we would build Kylo Ren and Rey. And I had this grand vision in my head that I would make as screen accurate as possible for materials that I could get my hands on, a Kylo Ren costume, which, for the most part, with the exception of the helmet, was every material that was used in the creation of that costume. I went out of my way and did all the research for what to get. Never again will I do that. And what broke me on it was actually not doing Kylo specifically, but trying to get Rey screen accurate. I found out that a lot of the material they used, I am allergic to the fibers, so that just kind of went right down the drain for me.
Oh no. I mean, I'm sure, like you said, as you said, and I said previously, cosplayers will go to great lengths to look at pictures, watch the movie, or whatever to make sure. But and like you said, I don't think a lot of people realize that, they have to be careful on the kind of material they use because they could, like you said, be allergic to it or something could go wrong.
Well, and that's something a lot of people uh, don't really think about when they're doing cosplay is if you're building something, there is a chance that you might be allergic to the materials that you're using. We actually have another local cosplayer here who does big elaborate builds, who's allergic to a lot of the glues and paints that a lot of people use for cosplay. So it's something that you just kind of learn and adapt to.
Oh no, most definitely. Now it's the question I asked. Snow, what's the future cosplay you like to do for later down the road?
I think you asked me first, so Eekie.
Yeah, Eekie. Yeah, my
Sorry.
bad.
For later down the road, there's so many that I want to do. Um, my brain right now in the forefront says I want to do one of Aloy's outfits from either Horizon Zero
Ooh.
Dawn or Forbidden West once all the Forbidden West ones are done. My original summer goal was actually I wanted to 3D model and print out the pieces for the Karja Blazon heavy armor from Horizon Zero Dawn, but
Such a good game.
I love Horizon Zero Dawn.
I've played the game and looking at her armors and everything, the developers did a really good
They
job.
did such a good job. But that was one that I really wanted to do just because it would force me to use one. It would force me to use skills that I haven't done since high school with 3D modeling. It would make me and Snow have to utilize our 3D printer in different ways to be able to make the armor
Is that the
and
one where
to
she's
weave
like
it
wearing
together.
that headpiece around her
It's
face?
one of the headpiece armors, yeah.
Okay.
And so that one was
It's the one that's the kind of a spiked headdress and the crop top.
Yeah, I know.
yeah.
I know what one exactly you're talking about. I'm like also what you said with Forbidden West. I imagine sooner or later we're gonna start seeing cosplayers cosplay that
hmm
version from the new game, which I'm looking forward to seeing.
I'm so excited to see what people come up with for that. But so an Aloy is definitely on the list at some point in time. This Monster Hunter armor that I actually wore to Meadowlark was not originally planned for Meadowlark. That one was supposed to be it's done when it's done build, and I really just kind of challenged myself to get it done.
Plus, with the area you guys live out in, you can definitely get some good Horizon Zero Dawn shots.
Well, we can. That's the big reason why I wanna. It's because almost all of what's it?
Hey, no spoilers. Some people haven't played the game.
No, but the one of the expansion, almost all the expansion takes place like literally
In the
a
snow.
well, not just that, it's a 2-hour drive south of where we live.
Oh, jeez.
Like the actual area where it's inspired by and takes place.
I can't remember
Like,
I can't remember the name of the DLC that takes place in the snow.
yeah, but it's all through like Yellowstone,
Ooh.
and it's
That's, I mean,
like yeah, and so the area is, I mean, we live in that area. So when I played through the game, I had a really, and I'm sure Snow had this too, we had a very surreal experience because these are places that they were inspired by places that we grew up traveling to, that we would go camping at growing up as kids. Um, just all around the general West and the Northwest. So
The DLC is called The Frozen Wild.
the
thank
Frozen
you.
Wild,
Thank
yeah.
you.
And so to cosplay Aloy would be just one of those things that's like I want to do it because I even have the places in my mind for us to go for photos. I don't even have to like think, oh, can we do this? It's oh yeah, this is where we'll go, that kind of thing.
Nice. Now the last question, and I will start with you, Eekie. Any oh wait, no, two questions. I always forget.
Sorry.
I always forget this one. Any funny story experiences you would like to share that are appropriate, I should say.
Funny cosplay experience stories.
Yeah, just like in general, like whether it be going to a convention, cosplaying, just in general.
Um, Boy, that's tough. There's a lot of them. I think my favorites have, honest to God, all been uh, doing staff stuff and like late night after hours. So at another convention that we go to locally called Eekie Con, that's out of Helena, Montana. We're honorary staff, so I was one of the original board of directors who helped stand it up, and then I stepped back because my work life got a little bit too hectic. And we always do, and it's kind of like a tradition thing at this point. We do this thing called StareCon from like, what would you say, Snow, midnight until like 3 in the morning,
Basically, until the bar makes us
until
leave.
the bar closes and makes us leave, where we just sit outside of the bar at the hotel and just shoot the shit with everybody, with all
We
the
should
guests.
preface this by saying it's called StareCon because there's a gorgeous, like, white spiral staircase
Yeah, there's like this
right next to
big
their
grand
bar.
staircase right next to the bar. Like, think you're like height of the Victorian, early Edwardian period, like big grand staircase. And we all just sit around it, and we're so brain dead from running the convention and being just sleep deprived that everything at that moment in time is hilarious. And so you have these adults ranging from like 24 up to like 39, 40 years old, all just brain dead, laughing at the dumbest stuff outside of StareCon. And that's one of my things that I love. I love that community silliness.
Nice. Same question for you, Snow. Any funny stories, experiences, or embarrassing horror story type things you like to share?
Well, we have to juxtapose the fun of StareCon with a horror story. And the reason that we decided to forever carry like a shoebox of repair supplies, because it used to be we just carry like a little bit of thread, some needles, the basics. But now we have like everything from that to epoxy, duct tape. We got the works. And that's because the year that Erica wore Mercy, I also was wearing Ana from Overwatch, and I had spent a good 3 months 3D printing her sniper rifle. And those of you that saw us at Meadowlark and Anna Mitford, I think it was just Meadowlark that we had panels, though. I had brought that sniper rifle, but I wouldn't let anyone touch it, and there's a reason for that. um, the reason is, after that lovely 3 months of awful failing, and just literally, I got it finished the day we left. And the first time out on the convention space, and the first time somebody stopped us for a photo, I propped it up against me to put on my helmet, because the helmet was a 0 visibility helmet. So I had to take it off in order to walk around to get the photo, and it fell off of me and shattered to pieces.
Oh no! I think actually
So
I think that's the gun you showed me at Meadowlark in the big case.
yes, yeah, that's the one.
I think that's just what cosplayer's nightmare in general. If something, and that kind of goes to the question I usually ask: have you ever had anything rip, tear, break, snap,
Yeah,
injure?
that one was it, and that's why I always say there's nothing more devastating than having a critical piece of your costume destroyed. Anna sold, and a lot of people still knew who I was, and even when I was alone, not next to Mercy, people knew who I was. But I was so devastated after that that I pretty much just went back to the hotel, took off the costume, and just cashed it up the rest of the day. It killed it for me. It was pretty miserable.
It happens. Now, last but not least, for Eekie, and then I'll go to you, Snow. Any last minute advice you'd like to share for those who are listening to this podcast?
Um, do if you're gonna do cosplay, just do it to have fun. I did cosplay as in a competitive scene for um quite a few years, and it's okay. And this is me not only talking to other people, but talking to my past self and being kind to my past self. It's okay to just go and have fun. It's okay to go and network. Everyone is at a different skill level, and you don't have to go and be the absolute best. Go and have fun with your friends. Go and enjoy the experience. Live the experience. Um, treasure treasure the memories and treasure everything that you learned along the way. That to me is probably the biggest piece of advice for getting into cosplay that I can give to people.
No, that's pretty sound advice. I know there's some cosplayers out there, especially beginner cosplayers who try like you previously said earlier, who try to outdo these cosplayers who've been doing it for so long. Like you don't have to prove you're the best cosplayer, just enjoy it.
hmm and that's really, and especially after judging costume contests and participating in them and just seeing how devastated people can be, like even if they made an amazing costume, it that's something that just really started to shatter me and shatter my heart with it, was to see how devastated people would be and see and hear the, well, why not me, why wasn't I chosen. And the biggest eye opener for me was I competed in a CosplayerCon a couple years ago, and the judges were kind enough to offer feedback. And I had just wanted to know, hey, what could I have done better? Like, I didn't go in anticipating to place whatsoever. So I'll preface by saying that I went actually just because I wanted to. I went in to mingle and talk and network with other people. Um, that's what I do. Um, but it was awesome to be able to get that advice and to listen to peers tell me what they thought could have been better on something. And when I went back and I looked at my stuff, I was like, oh wow, I didn't even think about that. So it was just being receptive to that advice
Oh yeah, no.
was huge for me. And so I hope that other costumers can learn from that, and just to do it for fun, because that's why so many of us started years ago and just re-tap back into that childhood love of it.
Yeah, I know. I completely agree. Don't go into a cosplay contest thinking you're gonna win. Go in it to, the way I see it, and this is my opinion, people can disagree. I feel like if you're gonna enter a cosplay contest, it's more so going in to show off your cosplay, like the work you've done. Don't go in expecting you're gonna win. Go in to say, hey, I made this. I want to show it off.
Exactly.
Same question. Same question for you, Snow. Any last minute advice you want to give to those who are listening to this podcast?
Yeah, I kind of spoke to this Anna Medford and Meadowlark to several people and on our panels is the biggest piece of advice. If you don't listen to anything else I say, understand as a cosplayer, whether you're just starting or you're the pro, that those super amazing costumes are not usually ever done solo. They're usually groups, not always, but usually. And then the other thing is understand that many of those cost a lot of money.
Oh no, definitely.
One of my personal things I like doing is itemizing everything down to the thread and needles to know how much a costume cost us. And I won't go into details here in this podcast, in this particular one, about that, but it's critical to understand that the things like our Mercy or our Alucard, those were investments. They were expensive, incredibly expensive. And we got a lot of props for them, and people are like, wow, you're so good, that's whatever. And that's great. It feels great, but it is cost money. And I think it's important for cosplayers that are just starting to understand that even though you may not have that money if you're in college or you're a high schooler living at home, just starting and getting invested in cosplay and learning the skills is just do it. Because even if you're not the best one there, those skills will grow as you gain the monetary ability to work your way into those crazy ones if you want to.
Oh no, I agree. And like as I was adding on to Eekies, I don't think most people realize that some of these big cosplays that people see at cons, like you said, it could be a group effort. There are some cosplays, like the big massive ones, like the cosplayers who cosplay as Gundams or kaijus or whatever. It can take like a group of like 5 to 6 people just to get it all made.
Yeah,
or like you said, how you were a cosplay handler for Eekies Mercy, helping with the wings. Like some people got to realize that it's not just one person doing it. It's a group. Like you said, it's a group effort to get these big cosplays done and to help maneuver around the con with.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, we saw like that was one of the biggest eye openers for me, and why I use this piece of advice in general is at SakuraCon, one of the costume contests was won by a gentleman wearing the dwarven armor from Skyrim. Looked so good. It's an amazing costume. And he said, I can't remember exactly. It was all like resin bonded. It weighed a ton.
Oh,
it was
geez.
like over 100 pounds. Took up 5 bins.
I mean,
It was ridiculous. But
some people go to great lengths just to have their cosplay weight accurate too.
Yeah, the other thing though that was the most shocking factor is he's like, oh, I'm just the guy that wears it. I didn't help build it. Like he just happened to be the tallest guy in the group that was a friend, so they had him wear it. But it was 5 other men that built it.
Wow, that's impressive. And I think that's pretty cool. I know like judges will always ask, did you make it or who helped make it? And I think, if you give credit to those who made it, that shows, hey, these are the people who made it. I'm just the person wearing it, basically.
Yeah, SakuraCon is actually really cool about that. You can enter as a model, and you just put the name of the craftsman on it. You're just there wearing it.
I'll definitely keep that in mind later down the road when I cosplay Captain Rex from Star Wars Rebels.
I look forward to seeing that. I think that's going to be fun.
I think that should do it again. Eekie and Snow, thank you for coming on for this episode of Cosplay Con Talks. Get to know that cosplayer.
Yeah, thank you for having us on. We really enjoyed ourselves.
Yeah, thanks for having us. I hope to come back to some of your other con talks or maybe some other podcasts.
Oh no, definitely. Again, I'm Wayne the Unknown. Thank you for listening to this episode of Cosplay Con Talks. Get to know that cosplayer. Until next time, thank you for listening, and as always, thank you for watching.